I'm Victoria from Biblio Lifestyle, and you're listening to the Reader's Couch podcast, the show that will help you bridge the gap between living a full and busy life to one where you're reading, learning new things, and having fun. Today on the couch, I'm so excited to welcome author Jenna Hermans to talk about her new book, Chaos to Calm: 5 Ways Busy Parents Can Break Free from Overwhelm. Now, I know the subtitle references parents, but I promise you, this book can be beneficial to everyone. In Chaos to Calm, you will find practical steps to help you streamline the endless task you face every day, how to get things done without losing your cool, and how calm can be achieved and maintained. Now, in this episode, Jenna and I talk about her new book, and she shares practical tips so you can take action right now. But before we get into the episode, please take a quick second and leave the podcast a 5-star rating and review, because it's a great way to show your support. It opens up new opportunities for the show, it helps us find new listeners, and it keeps me and the podcast going. So, thanks in advance. And now on to the episode with author Jenna Hermans. Hi readers, welcome again to the Reader's Couch. I'm your host, Victoria Wood, and here on the couch with me is an author who has a bachelor's degree in psychology, master's degree in organizational management, and over 15 years of human resources experience. But she's here on the couch with me to talk about her new book, Chaos to Calm: 5 Ways Busy Parents Can Break Free from Overwhelm. Please welcome to the couch, Jenna Hermans. Hi, Jenna.
Hi, Victoria. So happy to be here.
Yay! I'm super excited to have you on the show. Absolutely loved your book. But first, before we even get into details of the book, I want to know, how are you feeling? I mean, your book, Chaos to Calm, is available. It's out there in the world. How are you feeling? How excited are you?
Oh, I am so excited. It's been such a beautiful journey of giving and receiving after this book was published, of me being able to share it with the world, give it to people who I know need it most, and then to be receiving messages from people I don't even know, right? Which is amazing as a debut author, to be like, wow, people are reading my book. For them to just share the impact that it's made and how they've been able to use the tools in their lives in a positive way. And I'm just so grateful for how the past few months have gone and look forward to more of it.
Absolutely. That's incredibly exciting, and I'm so happy to hear that. But I want listeners to hear it straight from you. Tell us about your book, Chaos to Calm. What's your elevator pitch, and what can readers expect when they pick up your book?
So the book really is kind of what it says on the cover, right? 5 ways busy parents, or busy people in general, actually, can break free from overwhelm using the 5 pillars of calm. And so before I get into what those pillars are, the idea is that we always have chaos all around us, right? There's always going to be overwhelm. There's always going to be all the chaos floating all around like a storm. But in order to own our calm, we can build in an infrastructure, right? By using different tools and techniques, we can have that certain systems in place, whereas the chaos doesn't need to penetrate our nervous system or penetrate it as strongly as we once allowed for it to, by having these systems in place. So the things that maybe had seemed incredibly overwhelming before don't feel that way so much now, because you have these systems. And so I'll get into what the 5 pillars are. And then there's things within each pillar, right? Different tools and techniques, both tangible as well as mindset, that contribute to why those are the pillars and how one can create and then maintain and nurture their calm. So the 5 pillars are efficiency, right? How do you do the things that you have to do with less time and energy so that you have more of that time and energy and space for the things that you want to do that are in support of your calm. The second is habits, whereas what are the healthy habits you have in place that support your calm? And how do you then deter from, exit from, replace, get rid of those habits that don't serve you, right? By noticing and being intentional about how am I showing up in my day-to-day, and what are the things that I'm doing unconsciously or instinctually that just happen, that either support my calm or detract from it. And then the third pillar is community. Who do we have in our world, right? And intentionally actually choosing who we spend our time with, who we exchange energy with on the day to day, during the weeks, months, years, all of that. And so intentionally choosing the people that help us and support our calm and our goals versus those maybe who bring chaos and bring overwhelm and provide more of a maybe toxic environment. Right. And so exiting or creating space from the negative relationships that add fuel to the chaos and intentionally nurturing the relationships that enhance calm. And then the fourth pillar is community. No, it's not, because I just said the third one was. The fourth one is communication. How do you communicate with those people in your world, right? Whether they're under your roof or out in the world outside of you, it could be extended family, friends, colleagues, community. How do you get everyone in your world to give you the support that you need in order to obtain your calm and build rapport and trust with these people as well, right? So that's how do you effectively communicate for your calm. And then the last one is self-care. How do you take care of you in the everyday so that you can show up for yourself and show up as the best partner that you can be, the best parent for your kids, and best colleague, boss, community member, neighbor, in-law, whatever it is, that when you're taking care of you at your core, and it doesn't have to be, big self-care Sunday and hours and more like quote, what I would call superficial self-care versus sustainable self-care. How do you take care of you first and foremost, so then you can most efficiently, effectively, and productively take care of those around you?
Absolutely. So let's go back a step first. Your subtitle, I know you mentioned it, but I just kind of want to bring attention to this. It says 5 ways busy parents can break free from overwhelm. But I know this, but I just want you to kind of reinforce it. Is this book only helpful for parents, or can it be beneficial for all?
It can be beneficial for all. The key elements, right, like the 5 pillars, are for any human. This is basic humaning, right? It's not necessarily just for parents. Parents tend to be some of the most overwhelmed, grouping of people. But the key concepts are for anyone, parent or not.
Right, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. I just wanted folks to hear it straight from you. But let's go to the 5 pillars: efficiency, habits, communication, community, and self-care. How did you kind of zone in on these 5 pillars, these 5 things?
So the way that I found these were actually through theming of content that I had created for over a year. I had started writing before I knew I was writing a book. It was more like journaling. And when I realized I had so much content, I decided it's time to filter through all of it, right? And find the themes. And it was so clear that these 5 were shining through. And it made so much sense that these were the things that helped when I was going through my biggest states of overwhelm. And then when I've talked to clients and done research on what supports the nervous system and mental health so that one can be calm, that these were the key pillars and themes that just showed up across the board.
Right. Okay. So I know there's probably someone listening whose life is incredibly chaotic right now. How can they find calm in their lives? What are 3 things someone listening can do right now?
The 3 things they could do, I would say, starting with the concept of the basics, right? The brilliant basics. And that is honing in on taking care, again, of you. It's starting with the self-care. And the brilliant basics are 5 different elements. And so I'll break it down in 3 because you asked for 3. And it's connecting with your body, right? Taking care of you with eating well, with hydrating, and with sleep, right? How do you take care of your body and utilizing, we have to eat, we have to drink, we have to sleep. So creating the hygiene around those things, that you are being intentional around feeding yourself well, making sure you're hydrated, and getting as consistent sleep as you can and enough. of course. Another is exercise, moving your body, right? Even if it's just going for a 3-minute walk or dancing to one song or hula hooping for 30 seconds, that it's getting the blood flowing, right? Just getting that blood flowing, creating natural hormones and neurotransmitters of the happy hormones that when moving your body just naturally create those things. And it's easier to approach the hard stuff when you have the happy hormones in your body and you're well rested and moving and all of that. And then the third is connecting with the world that's outside of just what's under your roof and in these four walls, right? That it's reminding yourself that you're connected to something bigger, to a larger community, to the earth and Mother Nature. And so reminding ourselves that we are not alone, that we're not isolated, that we can be and are a part of something bigger than just what's in front of our faces, in our screens and in our homes.
I love hearing that because those are things I need in order to function, and it has brought calm to my life. A simple example would be I used to multitask while eating, which wasn't healthy for me at all. So kind of focusing on eating better, hydrating, moving my body. It sounds incredibly simple, but I'm a testament to the fact it's incredibly beneficial. It's helped me tons.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, Victoria. I think, what's so interesting with these brilliant basics is that they're so fundamental and simple, right? That we forget them in the busyness of life, like you're saying with your multitasking, but they are so profound that when we do these basics, the impact and the ripple effect is so big.
Yep, incredibly big, so huge. And again, I encourage folks, one, I think you should get this book, but also Jenna really breaks it down to basics. I think one more thing I'd love to hear from you is what would you say are some common misconceptions folks have when they're trying to transition from chaos mode to calm? Because when you're in it, and again, this is something I've experienced, firsthand. When you're in it, it's really hard to kind of see your way out. What are some things someone who's probably in a chaotic place right now might feel that, well, I can't achieve this calm that you're talking about? What are some misconceptions, and how can folks maybe shift their mindset to this possibility that this is real for me, I can achieve this?
And I'd say there's two main ways that I would approach this as a beginner. One is to remind yourself that this moment in time, the thing that is overwhelming you is temporary and it will end. And the way that you feel right now is temporary. So taking yourself out of the moment, or allowing yourself rather to feel the moment, say, I'm here, this is how I feel. I'm honoring my overwhelm. I'm honoring my stress. I'm honoring my pressure and the feelings that go with that. And remembering, okay, this is temporary. This is not forever. And that just later today, in 1 hour, tomorrow, whatever it is, that you won't be in this same situation anymore. And you can, with a clearer mind, right, when you're out of that current state of overwhelm, when your nervous system is, fired up and fight, flight, and freeze, when you come out of that then you can think more clearly. And when you're in that state of thinking more clearly and you're able to take a deep breath and show up for yourself with a calmer, clearer mind, that then the way to begin is starting just small, so small. And that's how you're going to get out of the overwhelm more long term, right? More sustainable calm and sustainable lack of, of overwhelm is by starting so small, like with one of the basics, right? Okay, I'm just going to work on hydrating. I'm just going to work on getting consistent sleep and creating the hygiene around that. And by starting so small, you have a better chance of being successful with that one thing, getting that in place, right? Making sure that becomes a habit, creating the infrastructure to support it, and then starting a second thing, right? So by starting one at a time, you're slowly but surely laying down the bricks of that infrastructure for those systems, like we talked about in the beginning, the systems of calm. So as a reminder, if this is temporary and you are able to get out of it by doing one thing at a time to support yourself.
Absolutely. And my first one thing was sleep. I started just with my sleep schedule, my sleep patterns, my sleep hygiene, things I would do ahead of time, and then just getting the sleep I needed. Then I transitioned to food, hydrating, and now I'm in a new phase of moving my body. And I actually look forward to it. Who looks forward to getting up early? I do. So it's just, to Jenna's point, it's doing that one little thing, achieving that, feeling great, and then adding more on your plate. So start small, you won't be in the same space forever. So I agree with all of that 100%.
Victoria, I'd love to ask you if you noticed that when you started sleeping better and being intentional about your sleep, did you notice the ripple effect that it had on these other areas?
100%. First of all, I do consider myself a morning person, let me be very clear, but I wasn't as grumpy. So the first person to notice that was my partner. So my husband noticed that first of all. I also realized I was showing up more intentionally to work, and my colleagues noticed that. The children noticed it. It started just, I don't know, it was a ripple effect. So I would say the people around me noticed it first. I also realized, well, I'm also not rushing because I felt rested. So that might be odd. And then I started being more intentional about my meals. And I'm like, no, I have enough time for this because I was so refreshed. And now I was that person who would never get up and exercise first thing in the morning. But now I am that person. And it has become so much easier. Instead of before, I can say what was happening before. Before, I was more turning and burning and just trying to meet everyone and do everything and be everywhere. And I'm still able to do that, but I took care of myself first and I am showing up, but it's way less chaotic. So yeah, the first thing for me was sleep.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Thank you, Victoria, for sharing that, because it's an interesting one, right? That as we talk about doing one thing at a time, often people think, well, these are individual separate concepts. And so when I start with one, okay, that's in place. And then I have to, build kind of the momentum, inspiration, and the motivation to start the second one. But what I'd love to share with your readers, your listeners, is that there is that cascading effect that once you have one in place, it does create more of what's the word I'm looking for, Victoria? It does have that ripple effect of making the other things easier to begin, implement, and sustain as well, that are in your best interest for supporting your calm.
100%. And who'd have thought starting one thing, being consistent, being intentional, seeing results, because it wasn't, I never set out to do all these things. They happened naturally. So I was able to accomplish the day job, everything you needed to do for work. And other things were just streamlining and they were happening slowly but surely. And I'm like, okay, I like this. And all I had to do was pay attention to sleep instead of staying up late and feeling I had to do all this and sacrificing my sleep, sacrificing meals, sacrificing just everything. So yes. And that's something you speak about in your book. You can find all this in Jenna's book, Chaos to Calm. So yeah, readers, you can feel this too. This isn't unheard of. It's not something specific to me. It's not something specific to Jenna. And even before we got on here, we were talking about the things we've learned as we take on more in our lives. And again, once you come back to the principles, you learn and you're able to streamline, and it happens. It's real.
Thank you for sharing that, Victoria. It is so important and so real. And it's for everyone. Again, not just for parents. This is humaning at its finest.
Yes, absolutely. So Jenna, I want to hear about you though. Tell me, what inspired you to finally put this book together, Chaos to Calm? Tell me about your thought process and just the spark to say, okay, I'm going to make this a book.
So what happened was I had my own health scare, or what I thought was a health scare, but was just my nervous system being fried by having multiple and consistent anxiety and panic attacks. This was about, let's say, 6 years ago. And I came out of that time, or rather, something hit me that that put an end to that season of overwhelming chaos, that where I reminded myself that I have all the tools that I need, whether it was through my education or my experience in doing HR. I used to run a preschool for 5 years. I have my master's degree in organizational management and psychology, bachelor's degree, and all of that, and bringing that into my home versus just at work to create more calm and infrastructure at home to support a team environment and a loving culture within my family and in our home here. So I, 6 years ago, decided I'm going to implement, I'm going to take what I've done and learned and experienced in the business world and bring it into our home, and started seeing about a year later, everything had changed. I wasn't having panic and anxiety attacks anymore. I was so much calmer. My kids were so much calmer. We had a flow in our home, right? And chaos was still happening because 4 kids, that's how many I have, and a traveling husband for work. So there was still stuff, but I'd say 90% of the time was so much more chill. And I had control and felt like I could handle all my responsibilities and my tasks and my work and my mothering and all the things just from such a better place. And it really showed up when my youngest started preschool, and in that space of, going to a new school and starting school in preschool, that all these families are starting for the first time and parents are getting to know each other. Where are you from? How many kids do you have? What do you do? All of that. And I shared, 4 kids, traveling husband, have a business, all the things. And they go, wait a minute. So you must have family and friends nearby to help you. So no, I don't. Oh, you must hire help. No, I don't. We moved here, from Los Angeles not that long ago, and we're still building our lives here. And no, we don't have any help. It's just us and just me. And the resounding response from that was, how are you doing this and not losing your cool all the time, right? Like, you're showing up to pick up and drop off with like actual clothing on, and your hair is brushed and you have a smile on your face. And I started sharing, here are the things that I do in my home and practices I have for myself that help me to be calmer and show up as I am every day. And after sharing that so many times and getting asked these questions so many times, a lot of, again, additional response was, oh my gosh, you should write a book. I would totally read that book. And that seed got planted. And right after that moment, that's when I decided, I think I should probably write down all the things that I'm doing and really kind of reflect on them, since they obviously are things that others are not doing in their homes that have fewer responsibilities and more support or resources to support them. And after, like I said, about a year, I had so much content that I'd written and decided, I think I'll write a book now, and shared that with people around me, to which the response was so loving and kind. Yes, please write this book. I want that book. And here we are. It's been a long journey, over 4 years of writing and editing and getting this book into the world, but it was an incredible journey, and I'm so grateful to be able to now share this with everyone.
And I'm eternally grateful that you did. This is just a great reference guide for me, and I think folks will just benefit greatly from having a copy themselves. But now that you've published your book, you're helping folks find their calm. If you could look back and tell your younger self anything, what would you tell her, Jenna?
Oh, I would tell her to stick to the basics, that's for sure. Right? Getting so good at taking care of me so that I can take care best of everyone and everything around me. In addition to also just having the energy and the capacity to give my all to whatever's in front of me, right? But that is so important that first we've got to make sure the basics are taken care of.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want us to get into your reading life as well, though, Jenna, because I know we're here to talk about your book, but we want to know what you're reading. So share with our listeners the last book that you read that you'd now recommend.
Ooh, that's a good one. There is a book called Money and Love that I read recently, and I really enjoyed it because it approaches making life's biggest decisions from an informed standpoint. right? It's not, should I get married? Should I have kids? Should I get divorced? Should I move? Should we get a bigger house? Should we downsize? All of these really big decisions that we have in our lives, so often we approach from a place of from an emotional place of what we desire in our hearts. And a lot of times we don't do the research to discover why we're making these decisions, or rather, what should we be making these decisions, or what decision should I make, right? Should we move into a new town? Should we get a house? Should we rent? Should we buy? Should we get married? Should we get divorced? Should we have kids? Should we have more kids? Etc. And so what I really appreciated from this book was that it really broke down how to make a truly informed decision about these big life choices.
Oh, I love that. What would you say was your childhood favorite? What was your childhood favorite book growing up?
I loved Nancy Drew. All the books of Nancy Drew. She was my favorite character. I couldn't get enough.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Okay, so on the show, we also love indie bookstores. Tell me about your favorite indie. It could be local, something you discovered on your travels. Tell us about a bookstore you love.
I probably have to go with my local bookstore. There's, it's called Sugarfoot Books. It's about a mile away from my home, and it is a staple in our community. The owner and the people who work there are just so lovely. They make their space so enticing for kids to come. They have a little kids reading nook, and they sell not only new books, of course, but also used books. And they also are happy to take used books and donate them, sell them, etc. So it's a beautiful space that is set up to support the community that it serves.
Oh, I love that. Bookstores are pillars in their communities. So really excited you have one as well. So getting back to the book, Chaos to Calm, and kind of wrapping things up, what are you hoping readers might think or feel or learn or take away after they've turned the last page of Chaos to Calm?
My hope is that the reader will feel empowered to do whatever it is that they want to do, right? Whether that's to accomplish a goal, and the goal could be getting calm. The goal could be being more patient with their partner and kids. The goal could be writing a book, learning an instrument, whatever it is, that you come out of this book feeling empowered and knowing that you have the tools to be able to make that happen, right? Again, mindset and tactical tools that are tangible, easy to implement, that you feel like you can get it. You can get whatever it is that you want.
Absolutely. And this book shows us that by making these simple, small changes, it will allow us to achieve all that we desire, whether it's on an individual level, whether it's for your family, but it will allow you to really just focus. It will give you that joy and it will give you that calm. Jenna, thank you so much for coming on the show and speaking with me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me, Victoria.
Thank you so much for listening to the Reader's Couch podcast. Please subscribe to the show, share it with a friend, and take a few seconds to leave a rating and review. Until next time, stay lounging, stay reading, and whenever you're in doubt, go straight to your local bookstore or library. Thanks again for listening, and happy reading.